How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm like you. I'm a little frazzled. There's a lot going on, man. It is fast-paced time right now.
I know, I feel like summer and the hot weather, it's really hot. I'm in the UK at the moment, it's like 37 degrees or something over in
Oof.
Europe. I think the hot weather just sends everyone a little bananas.
It does, and also, I mean, I won't lie though. I'm also taking all the PTO, so I think it's a little bit of like me doing this to myself. It's like, how do I balance work and PTO? Because I'm going to take PTO, so the work's gonna have to
Oh, me
I'm gonna have
too.
to figure out a way to make it work.
Mhm.
Also, in the
Yeah, that
comments, drop where you all are vacationing. What vacation plans you have this year? I want to hear. I want to steal your ideas.
yes, actually, that's great. I would love to hear where everyone is checking in from, if they're going on vacation over summer. I just got back from a couple of weeks off as well. And also, what do you do to make sure when you come back from vacation you aren't frazzled?
Um,
Um,
oh, you're asking
Tell
me?
me, what are
You're
Yeah,
asking
sure,
me?
ahead, go ahead.
Sure. In the comments, I want your tips. Honestly, I think the ideal world is you kind of like block off your first day back. I think there's an instinct for people like your first day back. I need to meet with you. I need to catch up. But if I meet with everybody, I will not be able to catch up on all my emails, on my Slack. You will just get so much more of me faster if you just give me that day to catch up. So I think that's sort of like my favorite thing to do.
I second this. I actually have this thing called ghost days, where the first day that I'm back from a leave, I leave my out of office on and I leave my Slack as out of office, and I just spend the day catching up on everything. I
Oh,
don't like message anyone back. I schedule everything for the next day, and I basically just have this day of like focusing on recovering from the leave, and then when I get back the next day officially, it feels like I've been back the whole time. So
oof.
that's my
I love
strategy.
that. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna throw out one other thing real quick. If you all are like me and you panic that like something's gonna happen while you're gone, and you're like, oh, but I gotta check Slack, I gotta check email. My rule of thumb for like 7 years now is I will not check Slack or email. But the only way I make that work is I tell everyone I'm not checking. So if an emergency comes up, text me. And it just for me
Yeah.
makes me feel like, oh, if I didn't get a text, I can assume that nothing is breaking and just like let it go. Just let it go.
Mhm. I do the exact same thing. It's a good tip. And actually, this is well, it has to be a good segue because I'm going to segue anyway. You and I both love to try and make things easy on ourselves in some ways. I would say administratively easy on ourselves so that things can be harder somewhere else. Wanting to work on bigger strategy problems, wanting to have more deep and kind of ambitious conversations with our managers about what we're trying to achieve. And I'm sure many of you out there from all the different places you're dialing in from Berlin, Munich, Stockholm, Denver, can resonate with the reality that there's just a lot of admin in every role, not just HR. I think every single job has a lot of admin that we need to do, reports to draft, emails to send, things to read, and we have a lot of promises that AI is there to help resolve a lot of this admin and allow us to work
Yeah.
on bigger and better pieces of work. But I don't think everyone's always seen that that has happened. It feels like a lot of people out there probably feel a little bit like there's a lot of promises that AI is delivering, but maybe they're not always seeing it. What do you see?
I think, okay, as succinctly as possible, I think there's two problems going on. I think one is that people think that AI is
Mhm.
going to be a magic cure all. And I just want to be here and say that, like, listen, if you were putting AI as a band aid on a bigger foundational issue, that's like probably not the first place to start. I
Mm,
would recommend first seeing, like, are there structural reasons why you shouldn't be doing the thing that you're doing? Very quick example, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, man, I follow up with people and nobody does the thing. So clearly I need to follow up more. And I was like,
yeah.
you need to follow up more, or is the fact that no one's responding a sign that the thing you're doing is not an effective use of time or not like a high priority for
Yes.
people? And so I would just, I know we're going to talk about AI as we should. And also, like, I would just,
Mm,
when you're thinking about AI, don't don't let AI stop you from being more thoughtful, one level deeper. I'm like, well, is AI the solution? Do I first need to understand if there's an
yeah.
underlying issue? You don't just want to like it's like the classic, like, oh, I took so much time to write a 10-page manager handbook that no one's going to read. And now with AI, I can write that even faster and make it 100 pages. So, like, I just be cautious. With that said, I do think that people are struggling to figure out like what is a tangible use case for AI. And so I will pause there because I know this is a tight one. So I will let you take it from there, Jesse, and you let me know when you want me to start sharing specific examples.
Yeah, look, I think that this is such a great call out because it's so funny. I On Notion, there's an option to highlight text and like expand this text. And I find this so quizzical to me because I'm like, when have I ever wanted more things to read if one sentence was sufficient in helping me understand it? And I think there's a very big tendency for us to be like, okay, well, AI can help us look like we're doing a lot of work. But actually, what it just turns into is a lot of work for other people. We're just making other people have to read more things, read more works, read more words, and have things maybe be like less succinct. And I do think clear writing leads to clear thinking. So let's talk a bit about how we balance all those things and like actually have it focus on tasks rather than just generating text. But a couple of bits of housekeeping. First, I'd love everyone to use the chat box. I know you're already doing a great job of that, and ask us questions in the Q&A box as well. We will get to them hopefully at the end, or if not, we might even record little bits and pieces or send things out in the follow-up. In the follow-up, you'll get the recording of the session, and all registrants will. So even if you have to drop out, you'll get a copy. We're going to start with a little quick poll. There'll be two of them today. One of them is, I'd love to know which is the best, which describes you. We just talked a little bit about our own experience using AI. One is, I feel like I know I need to automate more things, but I don't really know where to start. Are you someone that started, but you're not really sure if it's working? Are you someone that's got a really specific problem and you want to come here to see if we can solve that for you? And then if you're just out there curious, if you haven't really started thinking about things yet, but you want to know what's possible, maybe you're already using a lot of AI, you're just like looking for more ideas, that'd be great. So that's going to come out in a poll right now. Melanie, do you want to go first and talk a little bit about your story and how you've used workflows, automation, AI to limit some admin? I'll have you share the screen. You can run, and then I'll talk a little bit about myself.
Oh, sure. So I'll walk you all through it. So basically, a couple of things that I've done are on the performance review side, and then also just like reviewing when comp requests are coming in. So let me give you a live walkthrough, and then we'll see if I can screen share. So on the performance review side, if you haven't already done this, you should be building some form of custom GPT, whether it's on Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude. The reason being, I cannot be the person who's going through every performance review, and even our VPs, they don't have time to go through every performance review and make sure that it is adhering to the right template and that it's tying back to the job description. And so the GPT that I built is such that like literally the manager can just do a voice memo note and it will transfer it into the performance review template and it will tie it to the job description. And things are missing. It will say like, hey, this actually isn't tied to the job description. Like, do you want to try again? Or can you give me more context? So that's just helped a ton of time. And then in terms of increased requests, I will say two things. One is I would explore the existing tech stack that you have and what automations they can build. So when I did anniversary-based increases at a previous company, what we did there was we had Namely as an HRIS, and we just built a workflow. So managers put in their request through the Namely workflow. I approved, done. I didn't have to actually enter anything into payroll. It was just done. But now because we do annual reviews and it's like a lot more and we want to actually review the data beforehand, the way I do that is actually separately. I do it through a Google form and that spits out a spreadsheet that I can then run on Claude together with a spreadsheet from Namely to basically, because I'm a very big fan of checking for equity and like, are we treating different teams differently? Are we treating different demographics differently? Is somebody, in need of an increase that hasn't gotten one for a long time? And so with Claude, I can actually say like, go review all the data and tell me what problematic trends you might be seeing, like who's trending with the biggest increases, and in the sort of like request information, like is there a clear reason why? Can you flag which ones I need to take a closer look at? It's just a good starting point to just help synthesize all the data at a glance. I will pause while you're chatting through that. Obviously, I won't be able to screen share that particular data.
No,
I can pull up my Gemini chat GPT while we do that, while we chat.
That sounds great. Yeah, I think one of the other things that you've mentioned a couple of really important use cases here, and I think people sometimes get, in my experience when I speak to HR leaders trying to kind of tackle how to use these tools, a little confused about all the different AI, like we use the word AI to kind of describe a lot of things. So I think it's worth us talking a little bit about some of those things, because you've also just mentioned a bunch of different use cases that might be confusing to people. So one of the things I'm going to be talking us through is a Claude skill. I'm not sure how many people in this chat have access to Claude or Gemini. Feel free to share what's your most used tool, and we can talk a little bit about the different kind of names for those things. I'm going to show you through a Claude skill. So obviously you've got the ability to interact with AI directly, just as a user chatting. So you might have experience speaking to Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT and asking for things like, can you give me some ideas around a recipe, or can you give me some ideas for maybe how I can approach an onboarding workflow? And then that LLM will be able to give you, from its background of information it has, the answer to your questions or some ideas or generate something. If you're not familiar with AI, Anthropic's AI Fluency Index, I really suggest you go and have a read of it. It gives you some really good ideas about how to interact with your LLM in a way that Claude and Anthropic suggest you interact with LLM. So pushing back on them, asking them clarifying questions, asking them to take a persona. And that takes me to the next point, is you can actually set up the back end of Claude, Gemini, whatever it is that you're using, to work in a certain way with you. So you can set that up through a project. So for example, you can upload a range of documentation or a persona you would like it to take. Gemini calls this a gem. And then when you interact with that project or that gem, it will automatically know what you want it to do. So I would like you to interact with me like an HR analyst. This is the background you have. This is a bunch of data about our company. These are the ways that we like to think about how to present data. And then when you speak to this gem or Claude project, it will automatically take the persona of a HR analyst. And the last one I want to quickly share with you is skill. A skill is something that you can ask for any Claude chat, for example, to draw upon, or a specific kind of setup of like a persona that you can share with a team member, and then people will automatically be able to interact with that Claude skill in a way that you have established the kind of ground rules. So that's what I'm going to talk you through. And Melanie's kind of indicated that that's some of the kinds of things she's built. So hopefully that's helpful. Melanie, when you pull up your screen share, and I'd love for you to share, if you don't mind for a second, just like what you've built.
Sure. Yes. Okay. Let me pull this up 1 second. So screen share here, share a, oh, I wonder if it will let me share here. I'm just going to minimize some stuff because I'm not seeing the option to share just a window. 1 second. Okay. So, share a screen, and okay. So I think you all can see my screen here. Are you all seeing this?
Beautiful.
Okay, so I just put some of this in while you were chatting, Jesse, because it does take a little bit of a while to process. Let me try and make this a little bigger. So this is a custom gem that I built for performance reviews. And you'll see that I put in just like the worst possible, like the least amount of information that you give, just so you can see the power based on just a simple prompt. So I said my direct report, I don't know if you all can see this. My direct report is, I can make it a little bigger. My direct report is struggling to meet their deadlines and isn't a great communicator. Can you help me start drafting their performance review? And rightfully so, it said, well, please provide me the job description before I begin, because it knows that like you can't give good feedback if you don't know what metrics you're measuring. So I copied and pasted one, and then it said, thanks for providing the job description and the salary band. Since we are missing several critical details required by the performance review standards, I've set up the official template layout below with the necessary placeholders. Here's where our draft stands based on the current input. So it starts to like get you thinking. And what I like about this is, you know, I think sometimes where managers struggle is I don't know where to start. I know what I have to say, but I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to format it to the thing. And the reality is I'm not testing for like, it doesn't matter to me if you're a good writer or if you're good at putting things into a template. What matters to me is like, are you providing the important substance? And this is really acting as like a coach. So they would normally come to me for some questions like, how do I say this? I don't know, I'm struggling. This is actually walking them through that process step by step. And you can create other gems. For example, you can create a gem that like coaches people through like giving tough feedback or, you know, putting together like a career pathing or growth plan, you know, all that stuff. So basically it, you know, it's formatting it. Obviously this is not going to be the exact format because it's going to format it in, you know, Gemini's format, but it's going to give you like the main things. So it pulled like, here's their manager, here's the salary band, evaluation. It's saying, I actually don't have enough information. I'm going to need some more motivation for you. So then you start working with it back and forth. Key accomplishments, I need to actually put that in, right? So it'll ask you the things that are missing, but then it'll flag like, okay, cool. So, sorry, I don't know what's popping up there. So anyway, it will just walk you through step by step. Like, here's what I need to flesh out. Here, like, can you provide 2 to 3 specific instances where a deadline was missed? Because I said, right, that a deadline was missed. And this happens a lot with managers where they'll be like, you're missing deadlines. Well, okay, can you give me an example? Not really. Right. So this just helps them really think through everything and make sure that they're providing reasonable feedback, again, with specific examples. That ties back to the job description. This is prompting them as well. Like, when you're giving feedback, you can't just say you're not doing a thing. You should say, what does better look like? You have to set the clear expectation for, what would it look like to be achieving. So anyway, I could go through more and more, but again, I'm cognizant of time. But the point is,
this is great.
All of this is taking it off my plate so that they do not have to talk to me when chatting. So and then this is just like Athena's. At Ethena, one of the other things that we ran into that has helped simplify, this is why I think it's just so important to understand the underlying issue before you try and solve the problem, is our managers used to really struggle to tell people when their job was at risk. And when we explored why, we realized it wasn't that they don't know how to say the words, it's that it's uncomfortable saying a tough thing. So we just decided, instead of telling you say the tough thing and they're not going to say it again and again and again, we actually just said, okay, we're going to start color coding feedback. Yellow means nice to have. Orange means if you don't improve, your job is not at risk, but you're not going to be eligible for an increase or a promotion because you're not improving your skill. And then red means danger, danger. If you don't improve meaningfully and quickly, you will lose your job. And so now people in our feedback, we just label it. We just color code it. Is this a yellow, an orange, or a red? So anyway, that's just like a quick snapshot of how that works. And if anybody wants a guide on like how to build your own custom GPT or Gemini or Gem, I'm happy to share that resource, pulling the same instructions that we use to build this.
Awesome. That's really great. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that. A really good share of something that I think really drives people to interact with your brain, basically. Like all the things about what makes great feedback really resonate at Athena, and being able to kind of interact with that directly without necessarily needing to bog you down with additional conversations about things that they might be able to self-serve. But also, I think it's actually a really good way to like level up managers and help them understand and think critically, rather than just going to a completely empty Claude or Gem screen and saying like, help me with my performance feedback. This kind of levels them up in a way that's really relevant to Athena and also just like very, very helpful to your culture. So that's great. I'm going to talk a little bit about two things, something fairly similar, actually. I'm going to show you a little bit about the background of a Claude skill, and then I'm going to show you an artifact that we have built very quickly, and then I'm going to show you a in platform. So these are going to be three very quickly little things that hopefully help you understand different use cases, very similar to what I mentioned before. So the first one is I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to show you my customize. So this is a Claude skill. So this is what we mentioned before. Melanie just talked you through a gem. Very similar. A Claude skill is effectively something that Claude can draw upon in any conversation with any person that helps managers or your employees or whoever it may be do something very specific. So for this one, I'm going to try and chat. You'll be able to see this. And this is a Leapsome title advisor. So we have a set of structured levels and titles within our team. And very often people move internally, and a manager may want to give them a new title or try to understand maybe what their scope is of their responsibilities. If you type in / Leapsome title advisor, this chat actually helps a manager guide through what titles might be acceptable, what titles might be helpful for to propose to HR or the people team. Given that there is always a little bit of, I think if you work in a startup or a smaller business, there is a tendency to have like title inflation or the desire to make titles that maybe don't make a lot of sense long term for people's careers. So here, for example, if I said, I'd like to move someone in my team and give them the title of happiness and improvements officer, obviously a very silly example. Leapsome title advisor will come back here and say like, look, that's probably not a really suitable title. It's not something that exists within the market. It's not something that makes a lot of sense against our leveling framework. Here's how I'd suggest that you really think about this role so that we can have a good job description that goes along with it. So Here you go. So it said mentions here, this is a title that actually we think you should avoid. It falls into the category of chief of vibes. It's not an existing title that exists in the market. It can't be benchmarked for compensation, and it's not going to be understood internally or externally without a bit of help. So I want to make sure I'm pointing you in the right direction. Like, what is this person going to actually do? Let's help try and create this role for this person in a way that is really helpful for internal understanding and also helpful for market understanding too. So two very important skills. So again, very similar to what Melanie just talked you through. The other thing I want to quickly show you is a piece of work that we built using Notion AI. And then ultimately I built a Claude framework, Claude website that help take some time off engineering. So we launched our new internal compensation methodology, and it's also going to be fully public, fully transparent. And what we wanted to do is create a really nice, easy to use calculator that helps people use and understand our compensation framework without having to dig through lots of spreadsheets and templates. This is something that a couple of years ago would have required an engineer to help us with. And we would have had to go to the engineering team and beg them to put something on their roadmap and a compensation calculator. And it would have been really challenging for us to do that. Or we may have had to, as I've done in previous companies, share a spreadsheet publicly, which I think a lot of places do. I wanted to make something that was a little bit easier to use for our candidates and a little bit more inviting and attracting. So what we ended up building is a Notion page that describes our compensation philosophy, which is fully public, and our candidates can read through it and our team can read through it. And then what we did is I worked with Claude directly to create a compensation calculator that can embed into Notion. So candidates and employees can go in and say, great, I am a Berlin-based salesperson, and I'm going to be joining at a senior level. Well, this is our range, our compensation range. It shows you location, the team, the range for that band, and kind of what we would consider to be the benchmark midpoint. That then basically enables a really nice candidate experience, and we didn't have to use engineers for this. I was able to build this all in Claude. I sent through our compensation philosophy to Claude. I sent through all of our benchmarking data in the background, and I just asked Claude to help me design a website that had all of this information in a nice, easy to access place for candidates. And then Claude created this for me. I was able to ask it, how do I upload this? Work with the engineering team. We got it uploaded. And it actually only took a couple of minutes of engineering time rather than them having to build us a full compensation calculator. These are really nice little ways that you can use, I think, Claude design skill, if you've used it in the past, to do work that before would have been a blocker for building in HR. And the last really quick thing I want to show you is a lot of tools now will have built AI functionality that I think we can sometimes be a little scared of. I want to show you a quick demo of one that we have in Leapsome, and then Melanie and I can quickly talk through what we would do in one of the examples that people had sent through. So I'm going to show a little video to show you something that we're working on here. It's a little sneak peek at Leapsome, which is AI drafted workflows. So a lot of us have been working with workflows and automations for a very long time. We have to build if then this, a lot of language around how to set up yes, no flows and workflows. We're actually building something now that allows you just to interact directly with Leapy, our internal AI tool. And what you can do is just ask it the same way as you would Claude to create a workflow. And then Leapy will go away and create a full workflow for you, including how to send the emails to people, the draft templates it would look like, and all you need to do then is just go through and review and approve each step. These kinds of small but very powerful AI tools are in a lot of different tools now, and I encourage you to start playing around with them and getting used to them. I think they're a really good way to figure out how do I remove admin in even existing workflows. Even if you have an onboarding workflow that currently exists, you can always go back and edit it and recreate it. Okay, lots of information there. We had an example sent through for the last 5 minutes, Melanie. I'd love if we could just maybe talk a little bit about the example. So someone sent us through a question around how to, the team is asking for a lot of reference letters, different formats, maybe some of them for visas, maybe some of them for mortgage applications, and there's certain questions or areas of their HRS profile or their employment details which are asked to be sent. And that requires the people team to create new templates every single time. They can't use the standard reference template that they may have. They're having to create new templates every single time to meet these different requirements, which is obviously a very large administrative lag with not a lot of company impact, right? It's a very bureaucratic process. thinking about this, how would you go away and try to build something like this? I've got a lot of people asking for examples of how we build a title advisor, how we build something like what you built for your gem. How would you go ahead and start doing something like the document creation?
So I'm going to say maybe what feels like an overly simplistic thing, but like I cannot emphasize it enough. Whatever AI tool you have, I'm assuming an LLM, whether it's ChatGPT, Gem, Claude is my favorite, but whichever one you have, literally just tell it your problem statement. I am trying to do this. This is taking up too much of my time. How can you help me do this? And then you will see the magic. Like Claude can literally, you can attach a screenshot of the thing that they need, and it will reformat it in whatever format you need. Like, hey, here's a screenshot of this email they sent me, and this faxed thing that the government sent me, because the government still faxes for some reason. Can you pull the info from this report, and can you format it into this document, or into this document type, or this format, or sorry, file type or format? And it will just do it for you. But the step one is literally just ask, how do I do this using you? And it will tell you. But Jesse, I'm sure you might want to go into more detail there.
No, I think that's actually a really, really good starting point. It's actually, I think, the most valuable thing that you can learn, and I will share that. I think there's a couple of things that the audience are asking for. I'm going through the questions that they would like to see shared. One of them is the skill. How do we build the back end of the title advisor? I'm happy to build a version of that we can put public. We can share it with you, and you can just yourself go and play with the title advisor, a version of it. The second one is I will share the AI Anthropic Fluency Index, so you can understand, take a read and understand, like, what are the questions I can ask to Claude and how can I interact with it, or Gemini or anything. It's useful for all LLMs. But I agree with Melanie. The first and most valuable thing you can do is go to your whatever tool you're using, describe the problem you have. This is the thing that I'd like to build. I want to understand, how do I build this? So I would go to Claude directly and I would ask that question. So I know we've only got a couple more minutes here. So I want to just, while we quickly do this live problem solving, I would love to ask the next poll, which is which category are you mostly challenged with when it comes to how to use AI? Is it onboarding? Is it offboarding? Performance review? We've just shared a bunch of different examples of workflows that are really great for onboarding and offboarding. Performance review admin from Melanie, repetitive employee questions and internal comms, title advisor, or something else completely. I'd love you to share a bit about that. But I am going to quickly show you how I would start with Claude. So I would go into Claude and describe the problem. We have employees asking for custom templates for references regularly. How would you suggest or best help to solve this problem? It will then go through and give you some ideas. And you might even be able to push back. This is, again, going back to the AI Fluency Index here. It's going to read some context in the background. Here, I think through it. Employees requesting custom templates. Here's what I can do. Build a template library. What I'd like to do is have you help me build an artifact that allows employees to describe their needs, and it creates a custom reference for them that I can then just approve. So it's coming back with, like, here's a couple of options you can do within Leapsome. So you could build a workflow that someone can trigger. You could have a custom document template. But I'm saying, actually, what I would like to do is an artifact. I would like you to build a little website people can go to, and it will generate a reference letter. It just only take a couple of minutes. And then basically what I would do is I would go back and forth with Claude to help refine it. I might upload an example of a reference letter we have, so it has the full letterhead. I might ask it to never allow them to download it, but only require them to email me. So as you can see here, what it's already starting to do is create a artifact, and it's going to show us on the side panel. And then what I can do also after this is just share the outcome of this artifact if you're interested in having a look at it, because what you can also do is use this artifact yourself in Claude and amend it. You can start from where I've started and then continue playing with it from here. So I've got one more little minute here and then we can wrap up. So great. So this has actually created the artifact already for us in 1 minute. It is a reference request. So you could download this file. You could copy the HTML to your clipboard. But what you can then do is the employee puts their details in, who they would like what they'd like it to be. It's for a role specific reference. It's visa or residency application. Who's it addressed to? Blah, 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 blah. And then it will generate the draft. So for this, it obviously has no data in there now. But this is a Claude artifact that you can then download or save. And this can be directly interacted with through Claude for everyone in your company. So you can then just send them this link if they're requesting a reference, or you could just have it, for example, in your ticketing flow if you use tickets. Whereas if someone requests a reference automated, they get this response back saying, sure, generate your own reference here. When you're done, we just need to approve it. Really limiting the admin. Sorry. Okay, we're 1 minute over. Wow, 30 minutes just goes so quickly. Hopefully next time we can do this for a little longer.
Yeah.
We have so many other things I'm sure we'd love to talk about, but I know that we're completely out of time. I think I've responded to most of the questions in the chat. I'm going to send a bunch of follow-ups with our recording of this session. And I really appreciate, Melanie, you coming in and sharing your feedback about how you've used AI. If there's one really snappy little sentence you'd love to share to everyone here who hasn't maybe started building things yet, what would you say to someone who's feeling a little apprehensive about where to start?
I mean, I think the thing to remember is that like nobody's an AI expert, because even if you're an expert today, what you know is outdated tomorrow because the technology has already changed. So I think don't be scared, don't be intimidated. Just open up an app and start asking questions. You will be surprised at how easy it is. Like it's literally just plain English that you're using to communicate with a bot, and it can do enormous things for you. So just start, just ask it, just even say, I don't know where to start, I'm hesitant, here's my job title, can you help me? Or like, what question should I be asking? And it will help you along the way, I promise. Whether it's vibe coding, LLM, video creation, like it will walk you through the process.
Yeah, beautiful. A lot of people also asking questions about legal. We can tend to follow up about that as well. We've got some information about AI and legal. And I would say, yeah, I agree. Start just playing. Try to find it fun. I think that's the most important thing. Is this is a new tool to play with. It's a new fun thing. And share with each other. Look what other people are doing. There's a lot of great influencers sharing what they're building. Yorit, who runs PIN in Australia, is a great example. Is building a lot of great things that he's been vibe coding. Great. Thank you, Melanie. I know we're running over. I appreciate everyone's time. Hopefully you got some good information. I really love the chat. Next time, let's make it a little longer. Thanks, team.
Bye, all.